Hi guys, I'm so happy you're here. Welcome to the step-by-step magnetic bookmark tutorial I know you've been looking for. If you've been wanting to make these cuties, but every tutorial kind of skips over the important stuff, don't worry because I got you covered, because I'm literally going to walk you through everything one step at a time. Now, to give you a quick backstory, I've been making and selling magnetic bookmarks for years now, and they've become one of my best-selling products in my shop. Clearly, you guys love these videos so much because they've reached millions of people across social media, and the number one question I get asked is, how do you make them? And what's crazy is I was so close on discontinuing them because of how difficult they once were to make. But with time, practice, and the right supplies, they're now the easiest thing ever. Now, there's honestly a few ways you can make these. Whether you're just getting started or you've already got a craft room full of supplies, I've linked all of my favorites down below, from different paper options, laminators, magnets, cutting machines, printers, basically everything I use, plus a few alternatives depending on your budget. All right, enough yapping. Let's hop into designing because this is honestly the fun part. This is the part that's truly changed my workflow the most because the entire bookmark actually starts in Kittl. Instead of spending forever searching for graphics or trying to piece different elements together, I'm literally just going to describe exactly what I want. And there she is. Isn't it so cute? But actually, I want to have two different versions, a doodle style and a clip art style, so we can mix the best parts of both. Now this one's the doodle style, which I absolutely love, and the clip art is really cute too. But I want one version that brings both of these styles together, which I'll show you in a second by what I mean. Yes, exactly this. This is exactly what I was picturing. Now to make it even more bookish, I want to swap the ice cubes out for little books. I think that'd be so freaking cute. This is literally exactly why I've been loving Kittl lately, because I can take an idea that's in my head and turn it into something completely unique in just a few minutes. Like, look at how adorable that is. But you know what? Here's something almost nobody talks about when making magnetic bookmarks is the backside. Because if I just duplicate this and I flip it over, watch what happens. I feel like this is one of the #1 struggles people have when making magnetic bookmarks that have text on it. Because now that you see that it's flipped over, that the outlines don't match up. And if I mirror it, now my text is also backwards. Are you seeing the struggle here? But guess what? Because this is where Kittl seriously saves me. I can mirror the artwork while keeping the text readable, which gives me the perfect backside for my bookmark. Like, I know this is obviously genius, but let me tell you how much time this has saved me when making these type of bookmarks. And now that I'm happy with everything, I just remove the background, export it as a PNG, and now I can use this same design for magnetic bookmarks, stickers, apparel, pretty much anything. So just know, if you decide to give Kittl a try, I will definitely have my link down below. And of course, I got you with my code HSH25 at checkout to save. And now it's time to bring this design to life. So let's head over to Cricut Design Space and actually start making this bookmark. Don't panic if you've never used this before, because I'm explaining every click, and I promise Cricut isn't as scary as it likes to pretend to be. Now, as you can see, I've already uploaded my design from Kittl, and if your design doesn't have text or it aligns perfectly, you would just go ahead and duplicate it and then flip it. So we're going to go ahead and click effects. You could use sticker, but I like to use the offset option. And when it comes to the border, you're going to notice that a lot of these things are going to be preference based. You can have a really thin border or a very thick border. I personally like to keep it as a happy medium. I'm going to go ahead and make my background white and then do the same exact process for the backside. So again, effects, offset, your custom border preference size, then make it white. Here I'm going to click and drag over the design so that it selects both layers, and then we're going to click on size. This is again based on preference on how big or small you want your bookmarks to be. Personally, I like mine to be in between the 2 to 2.5 inch range, but this also depends on the length or width of your design. For example, you can see that my iced coffee design is a little bit on the taller end, so the sizing that I'll choose will be based according to the height. And this is just to ensure it doesn't come out looking freaking massive. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing to the backside. We want to make sure all these pieces are even. Now let's go ahead and put the front and the back design across from each other. We want them to be vertically or horizontally, however you want to do it, but as long as they're in a straight line. Now we're going to click on shapes, and I want to pause here for a second because I want to apologize for the fact that I skipped out on something completely important. Because if you see that line box right there, do you see it? Yeah, that box with the line in it. Yeah, well, you're going to need that only if you plan on scoring your bookmarks with a scoring stylus pen or a scoring wheel. Okay, now let's continue. Now click that square icon, because this box is going to be your bridge. The size can be whatever your little heart desires. Clearly you don't want to make it too thin, but As long as it connects both sides of your bookmark, you should be good. For my personal taste, I like to keep it between 0.5 to 0.8, but again, it has so many variables because it depends on the style of the bookmark, the design, how big it is, yada yada yada. So I always just recommend to play around with these things, and of course, change the colors, make it more fun. This is probably where I spend most of my time because I'm so indecisive on what the sizing and the color I want it to be. And you know what? Sometimes I'll just make multiple just to see which one looks cuter in person. And you can even see here I'm playing around with the placement. You know, sometimes I like to judge it up and think outside the box. I think having it in this spot feels a little bit more seamless, so that way the straws don't stick out if it was placed in the center. But you know, that's just me. Again, personal preference. Favorite word of the day for this tutorial, I guess. And now we're gonna go ahead and select all the layers and click flatten, because this turns it into one layer. And then we're gonna click effects and hit offset, and this you want to make sure it's at 0. Then click apply, and now you're going to duplicate this. And once you've selected both of these layers, you are going to make them into a basic cut. Excuse the color change, that was an accident. Now let's make sure these basic cuts are still selected because we are going to align them and group them together. So far you should have 1 flattened layer and 2 basic cut layers. This will make a total of 3 passes on your cutting machine. Also, feel free to pause this video at any time to catch up or just to understand what's exactly going on, because I know it can feel overwhelming at times, but trust me, with practice, this will become muscle memory. Now let's go ahead and bring that flattened layer to the front so that we could push these basic cut layers to the back. Then you're going to click align, center, and attach. This should show your cutting machine that this is one whole piece, but 3 different passes. Now, if you look really closely, you can see that line in the middle of my magnetic bookmark. Now, if you go back to this part of the video, that is the line that I'm using here, and you are going to put that into the center. You're going to click the line layer and then your attachment layer, and you're going to click align and hit center, and that will bring your scoring pen or your scoring wheel to that line so that you can get your bookmark scored and folded neatly in the middle. And I truly hope that made sense. Here I brought over some cute fellow magnetic bookmarks, and we're gonna go ahead and print all of these together. Also, that basic cut square in the background is the size you need it to be for a print and cut. So let's go ahead and hide this, and we are going to select all of these bookmarks and click attach, so this way they print exactly in the position that they're currently in. And now we can click make and continue to the printing process. I've already gone ahead and printed my sheet for the sake of the speed of this tutorial, and I'm going to go ahead and click my material, which is magnetic bookmarks, and put less pressure. As for the settings, I have created my own custom setting for magnetic bookmarks and for stickers, because it's another one of those things that has a bunch of different variables when it comes to your machine, your blade, your materials, etc., etc. So creating your own custom setting is very helpful, and if you want a breakdown on how I do that, let me know in the comments. So for this part, if you're using a scoring stylus or a scoring wheel, you would click the edit tools button on section 3 and click the tool you're planning on using. And now that we got everything set up, let's go ahead and print this thing and bring it to life. Alright, you guys, we're almost there. Now that you have your bookmarks cut, it's time to add the magnets. Now, if you did score your bookmarks, you will see that straight line in the middle, and that will be where you fold your bookmark. And it should fold nice and evenly and straight and seamless. And when folding them, you don't want to press them too hard. You want them to have a little bit of a bounce. Now, this is where you're going to get your magnet of choice. And now I'm going to teach you about the placement, because the placement of a magnet is just as crucial. You don't want to place them too high or too low, but depending on the length of the design, you also don't want to place them dead in the middle. So as you can see for this design, I placed the magnet in the center, but on the lower end, if that makes sense. And I of course have to add them on my custom backing cards, which I like to place little quotes on them, because of course we deserve to pretend that we'll read one more chapter, right? Keyword, pretend. Now I wanted to give you another example of the magnetic placement and when it comes to the length of the bookmarks. So for this one, you can see it's a little bit taller than the other one. And again, you don't want to place them too high, you don't want to place them too low, but if I placed it in the center there, it would click onto the bookmark a little bit funky. Because if it's too close to the fold, it can make the bookmark feel bulky, but if it's too far away, it won't grip the page as well. And before you press it down, just make sure everything aligns, because once these magnets decide they're friends for life. But then you have this style where it's not tall, it's actually wide, and you can place them in the center. Hopefully this is making a little bit more sense with some visuals. Now these dual magnets do have a adhesive backing, so before placing them, I like to magnetize them before, and then that way they are evenly aligned when I close them. And these magnets, along with all the other supplies that I've used in this video, plus some alternatives depending on your budget, are all going to be linked in my description, so be sure to check that out. And that's it, your magnetic bookmark is officially finished. I seriously never get tired of making these, and it's always so fun seeing how one idea can turn into something completely unique. These are a few of my favorite designs, along with some of my best sellers over the years, and once you learn the process, you can really customize them just for about anything. Books, holidays, hobbies, gifts, honestly the possibilities are endless, and that's one of my favorite things about making these. But you know, if you'd rather support your girl, aka my small business, instead of making your own, you can always shop my magnetic bookmarks over at honeyshe'shome.com. I'll have everything linked down below as per usual. And if you happen to make a magnetic bookmark using this tutorial, please let me know. I'd love to see it. Tag me on social media so I can check out your creations at Honey She's Home, because that would seriously make my day. And let me know in the comments, what would you like to learn next? Because whether it's stickers, apparel, glass cups, or another Cricut project, I'd love to make more tutorials for you, especially if you've enjoyed this one. I've been running my small business for years, and I just think it's so much fun spreading the knowledge that I've learned along the way, and I'm more than happy to share what I know. So if you too are building a business or becoming a creator, follow along as we continue figuring it out together. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, because I might answer yours in the next video. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye!